Namaskar. Sriram JVC is our guest today. And before we start our conversation, I'd like to introduce him because he's coming on our channel for the very first time. Sriram is a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and corporate training guru, a political commentator, and TV panelist. He got the 2019 Lok Sabha election, Bihar elections, and the Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, it's called Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation elections accurately. This one was a big one because BJP did from 4, I think, to about 48 or 49, and unpredictably impressive performance from BJP in the city of Hyderabad. He got several indicators right in the Tamil Nadu elections. Only pollster to predict that heavyweight like Subbulakshmi Jagdishan would lose in Modakkuruchi to BJP, and to say that Kamala Hassan would lose in Coimbatore. And he has made several such very incisive predictions that have turned out to be true. Welcome to P Guru's channel, Sriram.
Welcome, sir. Namaskar to every one of you. Thank you for inviting me for this discussion in P Guru's. It's my pleasure.
So, Sriram, we are looking at a few topics today that we hope have not been touched upon in P Guru's a whole lot. First of all, in Pegasus, there are more revelations coming out today. Your thoughts on the names that are coming out. For example, one of the Supreme Court justices, one of his phones was also tagged in this Pegasus.
See, personally for me, let me make one disclosure that for the unity and integrity of the nation, if they had to be tabbed or if this Pegasus had to be used, I don't see anything wrong in it. It has been a practice for a very long time. That's been my stance. Yes, the revelations show that even Union Minister, Mr. Ashwini, his phone has been tapped. Gajendra Singh Shekhawat's phone has been tapped. These are all rumors which are coming from Amnesty International, and NSO has completely rejected it. Prashant Kishore, Abhishek Banerjee, former Supreme Court judge, 40 journalists, the list goes on. But to me, a non-issue has turned into an issue. Let me just ask one question to every viewer. If this Pegasus issue had not come just before the day of the commencement of the parliament, would this have been blown to such proportions? Absolutely no. This government has been moving forward in many directions in a positive way. The COVID wave has been handled pretty well, and the reservation policy and the social justice which the government has been moving in terms of appointing people, 27 people from OBC, 12 people from Dalits, 8 from tribes, 5 from minority, 11 from women. These are unprecedented. So opposition was caught napping, and this issue was taken up. And for your information, there is a pastor in Tamil Nadu who in a few days back mentioned that they are going to use Washington Post, they are going to use Amnesty International in a very proactive way to defame Narendra Modi and fix his defeat. This is what has been told to a channel just a few days back. And you connect all the dots, that's what is coming out.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, on Pegasus, there are two schools of thought, and I think you've echoed that one school of thought, and I just said this in a different hangout for our viewers, very briefly, I'll go to say this. In one school of thought says that this is a way that the liberal groups are trying to get back the narrative because they have managed to defeat many of the nationalist leaders such as Donald Trump, and also you've seen Bibi Netanyahu also being unseated. In fact, he lost by 1 vote. So, and the next in their crosshairs is Narendra Modi, and the whole thing is being attributed allegedly to George Soros and his machinations. We don't know that for a fact, but these are all talks that are going. So let's move on to the next topic. Viewers, we have a few things that are not actually finding their way in MSM in the detail and depth that they should be, which is what Sriram here is helping us focus on. And here's the next one, OBC reservations. Now, this number, finally, the government has come out and said that they are implementing the OBC reservations, I think in medical college selections. If I don't remember correctly, what was the thing? But they also added EB, that is economically weaker sections also, right?
Yes. So this particular thing has been demanded by some of the parties, particularly the Dravidian parties have been demanding it. In 2019, the Tamil Nadu Chief Minister for the first time wrote a letter to the Honorable Prime Minister saying that backward caste quota should be given to medical college seats in both UG and PG. The stance from the Prime Minister of India has been very clear. We will take this up at the appropriate time. And more importantly, we are building new medical colleges. We are increasing the number of seats. And once we do that, we will be in a position to make this as an order. Now, I just want to bring it to your awareness. I want to be perfect in the data. So I'm just reading out the data here. Just give me a minute. Now what has happened is the UG medical seats have increased by 56% from 2014 to 2020. In 2014, the MBBS seats were 54,348. Now it is 84,649. The number of colleges have increased by 80%. There are only 379 colleges when Mr. Modi came to power. Today, there are 558 colleges, increase of 179. And same is the case with PG medical seat. Because when the number of seats is very less, and when you put a reservation system, it doesn't work. Now, what has happened is they've created the right kind of infrastructure, and many people may disagree with me that reservation should not exist. But let me put a different point of view and the reality, because we are talking to the global audience here. Yes. Reservation is going to exist for another century, Mr. Iyer. Nobody can stop it. Nobody can stop it. And social justice has not been rendered in the proper and an equitable manner to people who really deserve it. It has been used as an appeasement tool. The only way by means of which we can come to a stage where India may not need reservation is this reservation policy needs to be implemented in a manner which is equitable, not equal. That's what is the word I'm trying to market. As a result of which, everybody it gets distributed. There are scheduled tribe people who are calling from Tamil Nadu to me. They are saying that more than 60% of their community is not even able to get the certificate. And here is a state which calls itself as a champion of social justice. So, Mr. Modi has scored a big 6 by announcing it at the appropriate time. And we must also compare it with when Mandal Commission report was tabled and implemented. The kind of clashes, the kind of violence which we saw then, to celebration which you're seeing now shows the difference.
Absolutely. And speaking of appeasement, you also have the Telangana Chief Minister trying various methods, and he realizes that he won only by a differential of, I think, 3% in many of the constituencies, and he feels that BJP now poses a real threat to his dynasty, his kingdom. That's how I look at it. He's part of the F20 that Professor RV and I defined, the F20 families that run, and in fact, there's an I there that ruin India. But that is just my opinion. So in Telangana, there was an incident that happened recently. Somebody died, and KCR tried to play politics in that. Your thoughts on that, sir?
See, I would like to put it in a very macro perspective as far as Telangana is concerned. Now, if you look at it, Telangana has got a population of more than 51% OBC votes. And this OBC votes are very floating vote. It is not fixed to anybody. Now, they are slowly gravitating towards BJP, which is clearly coming out. And Congress has taken a stance of appointing Mr. Revanth Reddy as the president. So Reddy votes may go and split between BJP and Congress. Now, Dalit has got around 17%. Now, what he has done is, his appeasement is, he is saying, I'm going to give 10 lakh per family of a Dalit in a bypoll which is being conducted at Usurabad, because the leading OBC leader has resigned. Former health minister has resigned and joined BJP. Now, what is this appeasement? Have you ever imagined 10 lakhs converted into dollar terms to a family? And so now BJP is running a campaign, resign your MLA so that by-elections are forced, so every family gets 10 lakhs. Now, where will the treasury go? In fact, politics is being played on dead bodies in many places, including Telangana. The dynasty is under threat. I'm not saying that he's losing badly in 2023, because we are just another 2.5 years away from the election. But the position looks shaky, and I call him as an announcement chief minister because he makes all the announcement. He announced in 2018 that he is going to give 3,016 rupees to each unemployed person. Until today, nothing has been given. 2-bedroom houses not been given. So he has been an announcement chief minister who announces 3 acres of land, 2-bedroom house, job for everybody, 3,016 rupees for each family, each student. Nothing is going to happen. And this is also an appeasement policy and a policy which is looked at paying dividend for the by-election at Huzurabad. That's how I would like to look at it.
And also, he tried to allocate 15% for Muslims, right? What happened to that?
Yeah. So there is still not confirmation on that, but he does a Muslim appeasement policy. It is well known. In fact, time and again, he has been allocating a lot of funds for the Muslims, for the mosques, for the imams and the mullahs, and it has been going on, madrasas. So it has been going on, and he will pursue that. In fact, we all say that de facto chief minister of Telangana is Mr. Asauddin Owaisi. Barrister Asauddin Owaisi, and that's how we look at it. Because look at Nizamabad, because these are things which may not be known. Nizamabad Urban Development Authority, there are 60 seats. BJP wins 28 seats, and all the other parties stood separately. Congress, MIM, and TRS together they got 32 seats. Now they form the government. So what does it show then? It just shows that these people are doing anti-BJP policy. That's politics. That's all.
Absolutely. In fact, I think even in Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, now the KCR party and MIM have managed to form the government again. The mayor is from that group, right?
Yes.
Right.
Mayor is from
and also, how do you see the prospects of the sister of Jagan Mohan Reddy?
She will be an vote cutter. She has been propped up by... Pardon?
Into whose votes?
Okay, she basically is an vote cutter for Reddy community votes. Because KCR and KTR are shrewd guys. They are swift movers. In fact, I don't see any other leader across the country who are so swift in decision making as that of KCR and KTR. Now, what they did was, when they found that the Reddy votes went to BJP in GHMC elections, and they thought that Revanth Reddy could be, put as a candidate as far as the Congress is concerned. They knew pretty well that if the Reddy vote is completely split in 4 ways, then it becomes insignificant. So that is the plan of propping up Sharmila, which is not going to pay any dividends.
What is the percentage of Reddy community in the Telangana state?
It is less than 10%. It is
that's what I thought. It's not a big number, but it's a significant, economically significant number.
Yeah. So this is where I would like to put across. In Andhra Pradesh, the Kamma community, and in Telangana, the Reddy community, the one vote will fetch you 4 votes.
Do
you get? They can influence, each one Reddy person can influence 4 other community people. Same is the case with Kamma also. Otherwise, Mr. Chandrababu Naidu would have never come to power. It's a very small population, but influential.
And let's take a look at what has been happening in Tamil Nadu. There were several promises that DMK gave before coming to power. One of those things which everyone knew, except perhaps the voting public, that NEET was not going to be implemented across Tamil Nadu. I can tell you this was a joke because Supreme Court had already weighed in on that, but still they lied their way. They lied through their teeth. In fact, some of the pronouncements from some of the ministers is outright nonsense, but they're still continuing on. What is going on in DMK? Is this just obfuscation, or is there something more that needs to be read into what the DMK is doing?
We need to read into it microscopically, because I think we need to do an elaborate, interview on. There are aggregators who have been there. I don't know if there is a guy called Lottery Martin. Now, this guy has been the fulcrum of Tamil Nadu election, Bengal election, and even Andhra Pradesh election.
I see.
He is a kind of an aggregator, number one. Number two, the kind of promises they gave. You said this government came on the dead body of a girl called Anita.
Right.
They promised that NEET will be removed on the day 1 of the assembly. Do you know, on a TV debate, one of the anchor tells me, when I asked him, are you an anchor or are you a DMK supporter? He says, no, I'm an anchor and all those stuff. And then he says, first assembly session has not happened. It was only governor address. Now, can you see the kind of blatant lie which they are making? They've already run the first assembly session. And that's the kind of lie they are saying. What all promises they gave? They gave 1,000 rupees to women. Nothing. They said free bus to women. Now, only few buses are there. And what has happened is, for men, the charges are double now. From 5 rupees, they made it into 10 rupees. And all promises, what all, in fact, I can go on giving a list of things which they have promised, from the need, from 7 people who have been arrested and who have been sentenced to life imprisonment on Rajiv Gandhi's assassination will be released immediately, to that of 1,000 rupees, to that of 5 rupees cut on diesel and 5 rupees cut on petrol and 3 rupees cut on diesel. And none of them have been done. And the audacity with which the finance minister of Tamil Nadu, when he was asked, you said 5 rupees cut and 3 rupees cut on petrol and diesel, what do you have to say? He says, did we tell you a date? Did we tell you a date? Okay? This is the language. This is the body language. They said June 3rd, 2021, on the day of birthday of Karunanidhi, LPG prices will be waived off by 100 rupees. And one more person asked, 2021 we never mentioned. We just mentioned June 3rd. At the appropriate time, we'll do it. Now, these are the kind of comments which are coming.
So just so viewers understand this, none of the state governments in India are cash flow positive. Maybe Delhi is, and not because of Mr. Kejriwal's excellence. So none of the states are in cash flow, in the black. They all are running up dues after dues. There isn't enough money to do even basic things. I mean, for instance, in Tamil Nadu, if they shut down all the, what is it called, TASMAC, if they shut down TASMAC, they won't have money to pay the salaries and pensions. That's how bad the financial situation in all these states is. And they are just essentially, pulling wool over people's eyes. And I think this is also a consequence of taking 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees. I don't know what was the average going rate in Tamil Nadu in the recently concluded elections was, but that's what you're going to get. Sir, the next question, this is something that is really, really sad, that they have a joker for not only finance, but also for HR and CE. And this joker says now that puja has to be done in Tamil and there will be appointment of non-Brahmin priests. Nobody ever said that non-Brahmin priests should not be appointed. 80 to 90% of temples are non-Brahmin priests. See, ignorance comes through in such a stunning manner. And yet they seem to be blithely uttering nonsense. Your thoughts on this? Because there is a High Court ruling that said that Puja Vidhanam has to continue the way it was done before. It has to be according to the Agama Sastras. It has to be according to what was set down by the ruler, the king who built the temple. There are lots of things that need to be looked at. Why does these guys keep spewing this nonsense?
No, because they have spun this right from the beginning. Even before Periyar, I think there was a guy called Cladwell, who was the one who actually was responsible for this entire Dravidian movement, which he actually invented. He invented this term. Okay, but that is for another day. But the point which I'm trying to say is Tamil Archana is done in almost every temple. And it has been in Oak for a long time. If a devotee wants the puja to be performed in Tamil, it can be done. And you also know that in Vaishnava traditions, the Nalayara, Divya Prabandham and all those things, they are all in Tamil. Everything is in Tamil. Palland is in Tamil. Okay. And there are so many temples in Tamil Nadu which are, the priests are women. The Amman temple, the Murugan temple, they are all allowed. But there are certain temples, Shiva temples particularly, and Vishnu temples, as you rightly said, the courts have also declared. So, see, what happens? You are not able to deliver on the promises that you are given. So you need to divert the attention of people because people will have to talk on something else. So the diversion topic, see, I think I will always quote what Mr. Cho Ramaswamy used to say. When DMK is in power, when it is running out of tank, the issues they will take it up is Hinduism, temple, Hindi, okay. Then they will talk about Dravidian ideology. Worst come worst, they will talk about separate Tamil Nadu and Dravida Nadu. And that is what has been the practice.
All of the above, though, when they are talking about all these things now. So it's not even a 6-month period since they came to power. So it just shows the intellectual bankruptcy that exists in this party. Very, very sad. So let's take a look at this next one. Stunning. A Christian pastor's comment on Modi and DMK's victory. After that statement is made, there's complaints filed. This guy is arrested and he promptly falls sick and he's hospitalized. And God only knows what kind of a rare condition he'll be diagnosed with and he'll be let off. What are your thoughts on that? Where does
he has not been arrested because he made comments against Narendra Modi and Amit Shah. He was not arrested because of the comments he made against the Bharat Mata and the Bhuma Devi. He was arrested because he said 60 days has gone and we have voted for you, and what the hell you have done for us. Without our arms, in fact, he said, you guys are beggars. Without we putting you that vote, nothing would have happened. You would not have come to power. You did not come to power based on Hindus, but because of the votes which minority people have put for you. Now, that angered the government, the DMK government. If for Stalin and, if for Narendra Modi and Amit Shah, if they have to arrest, there are hundreds and thousands and lakhs of people who have to be arrested. There are ladies like Sundaravalli who spew venom on Indian armed forces. Saukh Shankar comes every day on YouTube and spew venoms against Narendra Modi. This was done. And you should also know, Mr. Iyer, that this guy, pastor, was chased in a car. It was a dramatic twist, where he went past a toll gate and police had to chase him and arrest him. And then he complained of chest pain and he was taken to the hospital. He's not yet released. He's still in custody.
But has he come out of the hospital, or is still in custody in the hospital?
He's in custody in the hospital. That's what is the news we have got.
You see, this is how this thing plays out. Then suddenly, like I said, they'll find some rare condition that requires him to be at house. Something they'll come up. Because now back channel talks are going on. He'll say, I will dial it down. I won't say this thing. But you promised me this. And also, if you remember, can you touch upon the other thing that happened where there was a Bhagwa flag that was flying inside somebody's house, and opposite that, I'm told, opposite that house was a church, and these guys objected, and they actually not only took down the Bhagwa, but they also, tore down the compound wall and a few other things. What was the real...
Because I was the one who raised this issue first on Twitter. And then the Hindu Munani came and gave the clear explanation. This was a case of a saffron flag being hoisted in a village near Tenkasi. 30% of this village had got converted to Christianity. There was a church which was adjacent to their house. So they objected for that saffron flag which was hoisted. So 1 month back, this auto driver, he was thrashed and this auto was thrashed to pieces. And police refused to take the complaint. And then police came, and you must have seen those video clippings where they're threatening that old lady. And that old lady did not budge, but they kept the saffron flag aside. They go back, and these guys come out and find out that the church has been built on an encroachment land of 420 square feet. 70 by 6 square feet is what has been encroached upon. And they went and complained, and it was proven. Immediately what happened was the church complained to the police, saying that this guy's wall itself was in the encroached land. This entire family said, if it is encroached land, we will demolish it, give us 24 hours time, but before that you first demolish the encroached land of the church. Police said, you are not the person to dictate with us. So what happened? They brought the JCB and they demolished the wall, arrested this guy on the pretext that he was not allowing the government officers to perform their duty, and he was sent to the lockup. Immediately the old lady, what she did was, picked up the flag, hoisted it on the terrace of her house, saying that come what may, in my house this flag will fly high. Now this is the real story, and the case is still going on.
This stuff is just stunning, and I'm also hearing that perhaps Stalin has started to bend his back towards the central government, maybe because he sees the new president of Tamil Nadu, Annamalai, as a real threat. I mean, if you put Annamalai and Udayanidhi Stalin, who these people are saying is the chief minister in waiting now, I mean, the guy will, in Tamil, they'll say, Kanam Poidum. That is how he is. Okay, I mean, that means the guy will not even be there to open his mouth and say 4 words.
Correct.
And in fact, I can tell you, Annamalai can take on any Tamil leader today and beat them hollow on a debate. None of them will even dare to come and stand on any of the dais. Guys, this is how elections are won. At least I have some respect for Kalaignar. The man spoke nonsense, but he spoke lyrical nonsense. Please go ahead, sir. What is happening there?
No, I've been always maintaining that even before he was appointed president, I said, Annamalai kandu Dravida Munnetra Kazhagam bayapadugirathu, which meant, the Dravidian ecosystem is afraid of Annamalai because they've not got a leader of this kind. Proven IPS officer, man who speaks the truth, man who cannot be corrupted, and is loved by the masses. In fact, he was not the choice of Mr. Narendra Modi or JP Nadda or BL Santosh or Amit Shah. He was the choice of the people of Tamil Nadu to be made as the president of BJP. So they are afraid. Yes, the party has got very, very, very marginal presence in the grassroots level, but he is willing to develop. He said, Illam Selvom, Ullam Belvom, which means we will go home and we will win the arts. And that has already started. As far as Stalin bending over the back towards Modi, is there any other choice? He needs central funds. We thought it will happen in 180 days. The precursor we have seen on August 2nd in the pretext of opening of, I think there was not even centenary celebration. I don't even want to get into the controversy. To open the photograph of Mr. Karunanidhi, Kalaignar Karunanidhi, they invited an RSS Sanghi who had donated his ancestral home to RSS, and they spew venom on RSS, and he was the man who inaugurated. That tells you the story. And yes, Annamalai is emerging as a potent force. It will be a no contest between Annamalai and Udayanidhi, provided the party machinery is geared up.
And he needs to do a lot of cleaning. BJP, even that little bit leadership that is there, they need to completely, step aside, except for a few excellent intellectuals and individuals. I can't see many continuing in this dispensation. If he has to have complete independence in selection and in piloting the state forward. Thank you very much, Sriram. And viewers, if you like this, please share, retweet, and also subscribe to our channel. Sriram is our new guest, and I want to make him feel good at home at P Gurus, that he is welcome. Please do send in your comments. And I must say, I'm very impressed, Sriram, with the crispness with which we have covered so many topics in such a short amount of time. I look forward to many such hangouts in the future. Thank you very much, Sriram, once again, and namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for me joining this discussion. Thank you.